already. Hey folks, how's it going? Hello, hello, hello. How's everyone doing? What's going on? US champs, huh? Round 12. Yeah, critical games. Let's see what's happening here. All 7 games still in play. I think it's yeah, Fabi's still at the top of the standings, half a point ahead of Ray Robson. Ray, who's half a point against Sevian and Dominguez, that are both on 6.5. So Sevian and Dominguez are only a point behind the leader, which means with 2 rounds to go, still within range of catching up. So these 2 rounds are like the big money rounds, like a lot on the line here. So let's see. Let's start with the leader. Where's Fabi at? So yeah, Shankland against Fabi. Actually, this one looks like it's might just be about to heat up. Shankland just took on c5, offering the rook on c1. Because I think on knight takes c1, he wanted to go c6, and then recapture. Kind of interesting exchange sacrifice there, but declined by Fabi. So they're keeping kind of a balanced position. Sevian Neiman, yeah, crazy game here. Absolutely. Yeah. It looks like Christopher Yu is about to lose his extra pawn against Ray Robson. So this game, extremely drawish. So Ray very likely to draw today, which means he'll be tied with Fabi. But assuming Fabi scores at least something here, he'll keep the lead going into the last round, it looks like. Let's see, Dominguez, he's also in contention, but he's playing black here against Jeffrey, and his position, if anything, looks slightly worse. So it doesn't seem likely that Dominguez is going to have a lot of winning chances today. And there's some really interesting positions, just like Levon against Elshon. Like, okay, I think they're not having great events, but this position is pretty wild. Looks like Levon is really putting some pressure there. And we have a Wonder Liang against Daro Swirt, which yeah, seems rather pleasant for white, right? I mean, nothing else, just looks like black has a weakened king side and white's king is safely castled, and black is offering a queen trade, but I don't think we're going to see a queen trade. I think we're going to see white keep the queens on the board. This kind of looks very pleasant for a wonder, if I didn't know better. Then we have Lenderman against Wesley So. Another very interesting game. And position doesn't look super clear. I mean, looks kind of like black is weak in the king side, but he has this very strong knight on d5. Bishop can come to f6 at some point. Feels like white should be better here, but okay, we'll see what happens on that one. Hey Seth, can I explain why Ray gave back the exchange? Yeah, absolutely. I haven't been really following the games too much, but let's dive in here. Just fix this real quick. But yeah, let's just see what happened in this game from the beginning. So this was Berlin with rook e1. Oh yeah, I was watching this a little bit on the official broadcast. So Christopher, I think, prepared this very interesting exchange sacrifice in the Berlin of all lines. But apparently this is a known thing, and I think Ray had some preparation here, but yeah, has to defend the king side. Bishop g5, knight d5, boom, here. Okay, is this the moment you're asking about? Because he played fg and Christopher went knight takes rook, so you're asking like why not just rook to b8 here, right? Yeah, fair question. First, let's just see what happened in the game. So in the game, he took the bishop, white took the rook, and it's not like he tried to like trap the knight like rook f7, b6, something like this. He just goes bishop f5, allows the knight to get out, and okay, they reached this position where black is down a pawn, but he seems very reasonably active and looks like he had enough compensation to at least equalize, because this looks very drawish now, assuming that white doesn't have any like incredibly beautiful tactics with it connected with this knight c7. I mean, it's kind of a tricky move, right? You can't go rook d7 because of the discovered check. You got to be careful about the check from both directions. Okay, but assuming that this one is drawish, let's go to rook b8 and see what we can figure out. Maybe we can even flip the board just to see it from black's point of view. What might have who's he afraid of? Okay, so bishop f4 definitely is one candidate move that comes to mind, just like targeting the knight and the rook. Let's see what else, right? Because the bishop is hanging. Bishop e3. I think b6 is like nothing special. Yeah, so maybe bishop f4 is kind of a concrete issue, hitting the knight, and like if the knight moves away, then there's going to be some kind of a discovered check, like let's say knight f7, knight e8 check, and then looks like, okay, white might just be getting the exchange back here anyway. And if rook d8, then knight, oh, not even knight, I was thinking knight b5, but actually now that I'm here, this one is just simple. Yeah, so bishop f4 looks like, we can stay here for a sec, but it doesn't look like black has a good way to keep the material here. So he takes on g5, so he can just give the exchange back kind of safely, like on his own terms, and then equalize like bishop f5, rook c8, and try to get enough activity that way. It's a very good question. I mean, but yeah, I think that's definitely was the point here. And now this is still the live position, so I think they're okay. Ray essentially just needs to find like one or two accurate moves here, and he should be okay. Hey, chess lover, how's it going? I guess one of the first things I always do in this kind of situation, before I try to calculate any moves, and like I try to make rook d7 work, I realize it's a blunder, and before I calculate any of these moves, I actually just try to understand like what exactly is the threat. Like, is white actually threatening something? So if we just give white the move, is there some threat that the white has? So only annoying thing I can really see is like knight e8 check. Knight e6, king f6 doesn't look like anything, but knight e8 check. Let's say we go king f8 and then knight f6. Looks mildly unpleasant, hitting the h7 pawn, but even that I don't think is so serious. Even if we allow that, we just play h6 there. Doesn't look like white has any kind of serious threats. So yeah, I'm not sure black has a lot to worry about. So maybe we can just play like a move like h6 or rook d4, rook d1 check, rook e1, try to play like rook e7. Actually, this is very logical, just putting the rook on e1 and then stopping all kinds of knight checks. So okay, should be fine for black. I'd be surprised if it wasn't. Let's see. Let's go to Shanklin Caruana, because this, I mean, definitely a pretty important game, I would say, for the tournament. Let's see how this one came to be. So c4. Shanklin goes for the English. Fabi goes for symmetrical English. Knight f3, knight f6, g3, knight c6. Hey, we got a raid from Daiwen. Hello, hello, welcome, welcome everyone. Thanks for the raid, thank you. Hope your stream went well. We're just watching round 12 of the US Championships. Penultimate round before the final round tomorrow. Lots on the line in both the Open and the Women's. So this is the game Shanklin Caruana. We just started looking at this one, and looks like it was a symmetrical English with d5, takes, knight c3, and now Fabi goes g6. So he's kind kind of taking things into like Grunfeld territory. But yeah, now white can be annoying, like queen a4, lines with h4, h5 here I think are pretty unpleasant. So queen a4, he goes e6. After a long think, so there is some intrigue in the opening of this game, because Fabi normally doesn't take long thinks on move 7, but here he spent 9 minutes on the move e6. And e6 definitely doesn't feel like the most natural move in the world, right? We literally just played g6. so queen a4, e6. I don't know if it's some kind of preparation or what, but feels like it's a move he knows about, just wasn't 100% sure he was going to play in this game, I would imagine. Anyway, so knight e5, bishop d7. I mean, very logical from Sam. I don't know if he has something better, but okay, he takes the 2 bishops, goes d3, bishop d2, castles, rook c1. Okay, essentially they get this middle game with the bishop pair for Sam, right? Which feels pretty solid for black, though long term seems like white should be happy. So rook fd1, h6. Okay, everything made perfect sense to me. King f1 is definitely novel. Not an idea I've seen before in similar positions. I mean, the idea makes a lot of sense. I think white's just using the king to kind of like overprotect the e2 pawn, and he avoids any kind of like knight d4 shenanigans. But yeah, interesting to see it here. Normally we see it in like Benko gambit structures from black's point of view. Here it's like white is playing a reverse Sicilian or reverse dragon, right? And the dragon you do often see king f8 being played. Though usually this feels kind of early. Usually it's like after the enemy has like opened the H file and like is ready to checkmate. This feels like kind of very, very prophylactic. But anyway, it gets Fabi to play f5, which is not an easy move to make. He spent 13 minutes on this move, which, yeah, for like a strategic decision, you know, it's quite a long time, right? It's not like a lot to concretely calculate. It's just more of a decision. A3 from Sam after a similarly long 10-minute think. So he just basically is like, okay. Just completely ignored. Of course, black is not ready to go e5 yet because that would hang the knight and just light squares would be too weak in general. So interesting, like, what the follow-up is. So knight d4 then from Fabi. We traded queens. Rook takes d7. Sam takes on d5, which in a sense improves the structure for black, but also not really, because the pawn on d5 is now a very clear target for the bishop on g2. Whereas on e6, this pawn looks weaker, but is hard to get to. So I kind of understand the trade on d5. White went b4, knight b3. And then actually the very interesting moment that happened when I started streaming, white played bc5 and Fabi recaptured, actually reasonably quickly. So I guess he wasn't interested in taking the exchange here. Presumably because of c6, throwing this one in. And then if rook c7, then white takes this pawn with check and then takes the knight, and then that looks super, super dangerous. And then if rook d6, then there's like bishop b4, but maybe just rook takes c1 is simpler. I'm not really sure. Actually, yeah, this looks very annoying because black can't even take the pawn because of bishop. So when people say 2 bishops, this is kind of the vision of like the bishop pair and why the 2 bishops are so. It's like everything is just lit on fire, just absolutely everything. And this poor knight, you know, never gonna get out. So very understandable that black was gonna just recapture here and try to keep everything stable. Now rook b1 on the board and rook to b8 from Fabi, creating a very clear threat here of knight takes d2. Okay, question after bc5, why not knight takes d2? I think the issue is that the pawn ends up hanging at the end. So if takes, then black's just not getting the pawn back. And then this one is weak, and yeah, not clear how much of an advantage white has here because they're like opposite colored bishops, but you know, if there's no reason to be down upon, then yeah, no reason to go into this if black can just avoid it. Hey, Post. Yeah. I think you just missed it. So knight takes c1 here was possible, but I think c6 was the issue. So throwing this one in, just hitting the rook, and then it's very hard for black to hold on to everything, and white's going to take the knight and then just have a ton of compensation with the two bishops, because this one will be weak and the c-pawn will be really strong. And yeah, I'm guessing that this is the reason why, because this looks super dangerous for black. And yeah, for Fabi, I mean, this was a 40-second a 40-second thing. Although, to be fair, Sam spent nearly 4 minutes on this move, and so I'm sure Fabi was already calculating, like, if takes, what he's gonna take back with, or if he's gonna take the rook. So he probably already recognized that, yeah, if white takes here, then he is gonna be in big trouble. So he just quickly recaptures. Rook b1, rook b8. I mean, they still have a decent amount of time, 47 minutes versus 41, but this is move 21, so they still have to make 19 more moves, right? Like 40-something minutes each. So it's like 2.5 minutes per move. It's like not a ton of time, especially if like the position might get concrete eventually. I mean, it's not like the, driest endgame in the world, right? Like, I mean, a lot of pieces going on, two bishops, black has this active knight on b3. Okay, for the moment, like, he's just threatening to win the game on the spot with knight takes d2, right? So Sam here has to come up with a good move. If he goes king e1 here, which seems simple, then minimum black can then trade on d2 at that point, and then yeah, just have the opposite color bishops. And yeah, to me it looks like white is the one that's kind of trying to play for two results here, but I don't think black is like so desperate here that he's just chomping at the bit to go into the endgame with opposite color bishops. Because I would say that even the endgame with opposite color bishops with the rooks on the board, that one doesn't look super dead equal. That one looks like at least white is going to be putting a little bit of pressure, because white's bishop always has a clear target. If black plays d4, then they're kind of killing their own bishop, and white will be much stronger. Like with this bishop covering b7, it'll be hard for black to fight for the b file. So white will have some pull there, right? So it's not obvious that to me that black wants to take. But also, from white's point of view, he doesn't even have to allow it, right, with king e1. He has moves like bishop e3, bishop f4. Bishop f4, okay, looks very tempting, right, just hitting the rook with tempo. So, and then maybe h4 to, h4, oh wow, my arrows are wild. Then maybe h4 to prevent black from playing g5. So to me, it feels like, I mean, close to equal, but if anyone is playing for something here, it should be white. As far as I see. But okay, to defeat Caruana in such a position, definitely not easy. Not easy. Wow, bishop b4, a new move has entered the arena. So talk about, yeah, not minding the endgame with opposite color bishop. So here Sam is like directly asking for it. But okay, wow. I mean, very, very concrete decision. What a move. Bishop b4. Wow. Wow. Dang. Nice. Very, very cool idea. I mean, hitting the knight, if the knight moves, then the c-pawn will be hanging. So black doesn't really have a lot of safe options here. And this just looks bad. So it seems like, because c4 also is just an immediate blunder. So it seems like Fabi's going to have to take here. And Sam's idea is to take, and then he's got the pin. So he's already got the d-pawn as a weakness. Now the b-pawn will be a weakness as well. I mean, I feel like black should be able to hold this one. Like, let's say a5. And, I don't know. Well, let's say rook b1. Okay, can't go bishop c3 because of the simple tactic rook takes, and then takes. But like bishop f8, for example, black's not losing this b-pawn. But it's kind of a second weakness here, and this d5 pawn is also under attack. Though, yeah, I don't know. It doesn't feel like a ton to me right off the bat. Like after takes a5. It seems like white is going to need more to really fight for something, but it's an interesting idea. Rook c1 coming maybe. Knight d2, I think covered by the bishop. So yeah, essentially white's idea here is to leave black with this weak pawn on d5. It's not like a classic IQP because it's not on an open file, right? Normally you would see white's d pawn somewhere else, like b2 for example. So it's not as weak as like a classic isolated queen pawn because it's not as easy for white to attack it, but it is a weakness. It's a very clear weakness in the position, and black really doesn't want to play d4 without having, at least without having put the bishop on c3, like bishop c3 and then d4. But even then, the bishop is still kind of restricted. So it's like, yeah, kind of a nuisance. Is it enough to win the game? I mean, sometimes it is for players of a very high caliber. Like, it's just a little bit of a nagging pressure, nagging edge, and, you know, white can go rook c1 somewhere, rook c6, h4. Wow, again with the arrows. h4, try to target this one. You know, I would say that Magnus has won positions that look like less than this. So, like, he's won similar, like, opposite color bishop endgames that felt like he had less of a nibble than this is. And okay, Sam is not Magnus Carlsen exactly, but he is a very strong player, a very strong endgame player, and I'm sure he recognizes that, you know, he's a little bit better here, and he's probably pushing. Yeah, in terms of the IQPs, right, and controlling the square in front of them. So yeah, again, that's typically when the pawn is like on a semi-open file, and that's a very true kind of like idea that you want to kind of control this d4 square, and you specifically want to put, generally you want to put pieces on the square. Like a knight is a great blockading piece. Here, its structure is a little bit different, but yeah, it does make sense to actually go e3, d4, as this would be very restrictive for black's bishop. The only issue is, like, as soon as you go e3, black will go d4. So yeah, maybe white starts with d4 themselves, and then e3, and then this bishop feels very restricted. And then if white can get like rook to c1, rook to c5, and start going after this pawn, then it starts to feel a bit very much unpleasant for black. So let's see. Yeah, c takes b4 played. This move, I mean, 4 minutes for Fabi, like, clearly came as a, I don't know if it was like a surprise, if he was expecting it, but okay, clearly not the main move you would consider, I would imagine. But he does take, as what else? Rook takes b3. Now we're going to see how he approaches this position. Bishop c3 maybe is a move for white, trying to get d4 in time, like something like rook b1, d4. And then, no, but then this doesn't really work. White can just take, and then e3 is coming, and yeah, everything's going to collapse. So bishop c3 doesn't really feel like an option. I think a5 looks most logical here. But yeah, I think some edge here for Sam. Really, definitely some chances to win it, I would say. Okay, so yeah, people were asking about other games. Absolutely. Happy to look at other games. You know, the idea is just to kind of like focus on one game at a time. But yeah, let's see. We'll definitely check out the women's championship as well. This is the Sevilla Nîmes game. We just started the stream not that long ago, so we're still catching up on like just the games from the U.S. Championship itself. But we'll definitely try to get to the women's games also. Yeah, on the question for the b4 pawn, it's like also with black's darkster bishop. Once the darkster bishop defends that pawn, then the rooks are just not going to be able to break through there. Let's see what's happened here. So this is Sevian Niemann. Somehow Sevian ended up down in exchange, but with a nice bishop on c3 that's anchored. And at first glance, it doesn't feel to me like white is risking a lot in this position. Like already, like black can't even double rooks because of bishop b4 check. And he goes a4, which is wow, very interesting decision. I guess just trying to take space, but seems like he could have done other stuff like h6 or what have you. But let's see how we got here. So Tarash takes c takes d4. Very, very trendy line nowadays, especially at the top levels. And yeah, queen takes, pawn takes. Black accepts this IQP here willingly. This is more of like a classic IQP and very common for whites to go bishop g5, e3. But here, Sevian goes for e4, which is a very concrete line. But they get this endgame, bishop e6. Now white goes a3. There's a lot of theory in this position. I'm not aware of all the nuances, but it looks like both players played this very, very quickly. With the exception of e4, Sevian spent 11 minutes here. I think basically just deciding on which line to play. So he picked e4, and yeah, they went down this kind of long theoretical path. So f5, g4, f4, bishop d4, f3. Wow, all these moves were like really quickly played. Like rook g1, knight f6. Okay, and then this is the first time like a lot of time was spent. Move 19. Sevian spent nearly 20 minutes here on the move rook takes g2. So they had some wild opening, and that's I guess around here they're out of book, and yeah, starting to spend lots and lots of time just figuring out concretely like what's going on in the position. So takes, bishop c5, rook d1 played, takes, knight e6. Wow. Not knight f7, but knight. So this is the idea of rook d1 to defend the bishop, set up some tactics, but also try to deflect black's bishop away from these squares. So okay, insane tactical skirmish, melee. Wow, lots of in-between moves, and then this is how we reached that resulting endgame. Rook c7, rook g4, rook f7, and now Sevian's gone a4. So Sevian down on time, but only 11 moves to make until the time control. And the position is not that insanely complicated that it should be super difficult for him. It's kind of hard for black to do a whole lot here. And to me, it feels like I don't think white is really has a lot of winning chances here, at least not that I can see off the bat. It seems like black is fairly solid, but yeah, I don't think white is really risking much either. But overall, to me, feels like a draw would be the most likely result here. Still a very interesting endgame, though. I mean, lots of ways for both sides to go wrong. If I had to choose a side, dang, that's a tough one. No one asked me that question. I asked myself that question, and now I'm struggling to answer the question. So I really did this to myself. But if I had to pick a side here, man, yeah, I don't know. I guess I would take black, but my heart says to take the bishop, to take white. Why did Sevian go for a struggling draw line? So what do you mean exactly? Like, you mean from the opening, or do you mean earlier? Like, because I don't know exactly at what point. Because it's such a sharp game. I mean, I'm sure he had different options all throughout, but I don't know what point you mean. Because yeah, it's just like super messy game. So let's see what else is. Keep an eye on the other stuff. Oh, rook d1. Okay, yeah. I mean, we can look at this one in a bit. So bishop c5, and then, yeah, here you played rook d1 after 23 minutes of thinking. So he really went into the tank on this move. Um, yeah. I mean, it's a really tricky position for white, right? Like, it's not immediately obvious what to do, I would say. Bishop is hanging on d4, so that gives us some direction. We have to do something about this. If bishop takes c5, I guess rook takes c5. And then, yeah. So what to do from here, right? Because black is maybe wanting to play h6 and then take the pawn on h5. If we take on e4, I mean, we might run into issues on the e-file. Yeah. So other than rook d1, what would be the other option here? Because it's, I mean, a really sharp position. You know, it's like, but rook d1, I definitely can understand because I mean, we're now playing for the initiative. Got this, and yeah, not obvious for black here. Okay, so anyway, we get to this point, a4, and then b6 from Hans. Yeah, it doesn't feel like black is risking a ton here either. But yeah, I don't think white is honestly in ton of danger. At least it doesn't look like to me. I feel like the bishop is quite good. Oh, maybe just knight e2 instead of d1. Yeah, knight e2, it looks like a move, like just defending the bishop. And I don't know. To me, the position still looks very, very messy. Like white's rook is on g2, king is on e1. Like, I mean, yeah, really hard to judge what's happening here. Well, I can take this pawn on h5. Um, but yeah, okay. I mean, these guys are super strong, right? So I'm sure when they calculate like for 20 minutes and go for a decision, like they really kind of number one, it means the position is super difficult and not obvious. But their decision usually is at least well thought through. Okay, let's see what else we got. So this is a wonder against Daro. So yeah, we kind of saw this position in the multiverse view, and then Queen f4, King e7 was played, Rook e1, Queen d5, and now g3. So yeah, this is like I feel like this is a very new type of move. Like g3, just kind of like, yeah, opening up the king. It feels very weakening, but h5, knight h4. So this is the idea. White wants to bring the knight to f5 and target the king. Now, I don't know why he needed g3 for this. Like, he could have just played knight h4. And then if black goes rook j8 or something, I mean, he's not really threatening anything yet. White could go g3 there, or he can consider knight f5 check or first or something. But, yeah, interesting. g3, h5, knight h4. Yeah, it looks like he has definitely some clear initiative here. Yeah, no, G3 is certainly not an obvious move to me. I mean, eventually, of course, black is putting a rook on the G file, so at some point this move might have been needed. Just feels a bit early to do it yourself. Yeah, thankfully black doesn't have a light square bishop, because then that would be super painful. So without black having a light square bishop, white can kind of get away with this a little more. In fact, black has very few minor pieces, so this kind of weakness is maybe not the biggest thing, especially with the knight controlling h4 nicely. It's like black is never able to play this one and open any lines. I mean, still a very, very messy position, but it does feel like with the king on e7, black seems to be risking a lot more here than white. Let's see what else is happening. Okay, Shanklin game. So takes, he didn't go a5, he just went bishop f8 right away. Takes on b4, takes with the bishop, rook a1, and now rook b6 from Vabi, because a5 would be met with rook takes a5. And then black is losing at least one pawn, and then maybe two. So rook b6, and now he's setting up a5 next, so that the tactic won't work anymore, because black just goes bishop a5 and defends the rook. So now Shanklin's going to have to figure out another way to get in, like rook c1, for example, something like this. The issue for white is that this rook on b3 has a really hard time joining the game. And it's hard to believe white can really have much here if after a5 coming, for example, like the rook on b3 just feels stuck. And you can try like d4, but okay, the rook is not really going anywhere on f3. And at some point, black's pawn is just going to start to run a5, a4, a3, and white will certainly have to attend to this one. So yeah, it feels like to me like Fabi is definitely, I think, yeah, much closer to, or has, I think, better drawing chances than losing chances for this one. That's kind of how I see it right now. Okay. Wow, look at this move from Hans. e4, b6, h6 played, rook e3. Dang. And Sevian's like looking at Chris Bird. He's like, can I take this one? Can I take this one? And Chris is like, no, you can't take that. If you touch the pawn, I'll force you to move f3 or f4 as per the touch move rules. Sevian's like, all right, I guess I can't take. But no, guys, he can't take, because then the king would be in check, and you're not allowed to leave the king in check. It's just not allowed. Just that's the rules of chess. Can't disagree with that. It's just rules of chess. But yeah, very interesting move. I mean, he's like activating the rook. He's trying to get in, rook h3. And then hit this one. And if king g2 kind of stopping rook h3, then he gets access to the second rank. And this would be quite annoying. Now white has to go bishop d4. And okay, now black can really start to kind of mess with white's setup here, like king d5 and stuff. Yeah, so it seems like white under a little bit of pressure here. Rook d4 check played, king e6. And yeah, we should keep in mind, I mean, materially speaking, black is up a little bit, right? Because white has a bishop and 2 pawns for the rook, which generally is enough, but white, 2 of the pawns are rook pawns, which are doubled. So these aren't like as healthy as like 2 normal pawns, right? So materially speaking, black is ahead, but I like that white has like a rook here to use with the bishop, and it always gives white ideas of counterplay. Like this idea of bringing the rook to g7 is just always there. And so, yeah, that's what, from a practical point of view, makes me feel like this one is also kind of, I think, more likely to be a draw than than anything else. But we'll see. We'll see. Hans has been doing very good last couple of rounds. So um, he might be looking to pull another one out. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, if white advances f4, it always kind of weakens the pawn. So you have to be very careful. You don't really want to do it without kind of first advancing the king if you can. So rook d4 check, king e6, and yeah. Now what is Sevian gonna do? Because he's only got 12 minutes. He has to make 9 more moves, so not the easiest decision. He goes a5. Okay, that makes sense. He's trying to trade pawns. So that also means that the most ambitious move from Hans would be b5, keeping as many pawns on the board as possible. But b5 is also a little bit risky because then it's allowing white to keep another potential pawn. But I guess he's trying to just defend everything along the 7th rank and just say, not let white break through here. He can also take and then try to use the time that it takes white to recapture the pawn to do something, but I'm not sure he actually can do a whole lot here as black. But a5, I mean, yeah, Sevian's essentially just trying to kind of get stuff going, trying to make things happen. But on b5, I do wonder what his idea would be. Maybe bishop b4 could be a thought, trying to go rook d6 check. Because from white's point of view, if he pushes a6, like let's say here and here, then the a6 pawn is also, like both pawns are weak. Right, so this is, yeah, kind of like the definition of double-edged. So Hans will be figuring out how to react to this one. In the meantime, Christopher Yu, Ray Robson, they did agree to a draw. Okay, looks like rook f3. That makes sense, hitting f2. There's a line in the chat. Rook d2, rook h3. And then black can maybe pick up the h6 pawn. Yeah, that would be pretty big, actually. If black can take that pawn, then he would have a very clear advantage. That's interesting. I wonder why he didn't go for rook h3 right away. Like, what's the point of bringing white's rook back to d2? I mean, it's a little bit less active there. It still has rook e2 check. But yeah, very unpleasant move from Hans. Rook f3. Now, white's going to have to start giving some ground here. Okay, let's check out Levon real quick. Levon against Elshan. Just because it's a very interesting matchup. Looks like Caro Khan in this game. And I feel like this is not like a usual repertoire for either player. I don't think I've seen them play this too much, but yeah, interesting that they had this. Queen c2, they went for the endgame, but felt like white kept some pressure in this endgame. The c-file, ooh, rook e3, rook b3, that looks very annoying. a4, a5. So he gives up the light square bishop very voluntarily, but gets the rook to the 7th, takes the a-pawn, and finds a way to hold on to the pawn, because now if knight takes a5, rook a1, loses the piece. So white here keeps the a-pawn, But granted, black has the 2 bishops, but this bishop is kind of an empty piece. It's not really doing that much. It's controlling some squares, but so what? If white's not using these squares, then yeah, white's just going to have a clear extra pawn. So knight d2, and then black ignores it, goes king e8, allows white to take on c4. I guess if he took on d2 here, then bishop takes d2, and then the c6 pawn starts to hang. Go rook a6 here. But yeah, not a very fun structure for black. And then the knight can start maneuvering around and eventually get to some fun squares like the c5 square. And yeah, this feels like it could be unpleasant. So he keeps the structure a little bit more dynamic. He can try to get c5 in. Knight f1, c5. There we go. So a very interesting decision from Elshon to, you know, leave the knight on c4. It looks kind of ugly at first, but his idea is to get c5. Trade off this one. Takes, takes. Now this is the live position here. Okay, so extra pawn for white remains. And at the moment, it feels like he's threatening to go a6, a7. That means it feels like black's most natural move here is going to be rook a6. Then rook a6, maybe bishop b6. White can try to imprison the rook. So, yeah, looks kind of tough for black here. Yeah. Well, it's a very tough tournament. Really, really tough. So, just how it goes. I mean, you're playing against some of the world's absolute best players. And these guys are sharks, you know. And you have to show up for every game. So if you start losing 1 or 2 games, you know, they see it, they smell the weakness. They just go after you. It's like, yeah, my turn. My turn to take a point. You guys are ruthless. Absolute ruthless. But okay. That's what chess is. I mean, it's kind of just a game, you know, if you think about it. It's a game. It's like there's like rules and stuff and you have to follow, and then you're trying to win according to like the rules and everything. So it's not a big deal. A game is a game. You're supposed to try to play and win. That's how it goes. Okay. Shankland. d4. a5. Rook e3. So he swings the rook over this way. Bishop f3. And I guess the rook has the e5 square. So he wants maybe something like rook e5 and then e3. Gang up on this one. But black will be able to defend it. Rook b5, rook d6. The question is if white will be able to create more weaknesses. h4 is met with h5. Not so easy, but still Sam putting a little bit of pressure here on Fabi. I think this position definitely seems somewhat easier for white to play. Despite black having like the outside pass pawn, it's tough to push this one. Like, how do you get a4 in? You know, you can't move this rook away. This rook is super passive because you really don't want to give up this pawn. And then if you play rook a6, well, white can always just kind of plug the hole with rook a4 if he really wants to. Or in this case, he can go rook e5 and force black to defend the d pawn. So here black has to be kind of passive defending this one. So it's hard for black to really do a lot of active stuff. Yeah, question if Fabi will know what's going on the other boards. Yeah, they're pretty close there in the playing field, so they have like they can see what's going on. There's like monitors, so you can always see the games, and there's also just sound. So when like a board finishes or when a game finishes, there's like a very familiar set of sounds that everyone knows that if they play in like a norm tournament, like there's going to be some rustling of papers, right? As people are like signing the score sheets and like, you know, some pieces being like knocked together as people are like putting the pieces back and like resetting the board. So it's like I mean, it's very quiet in the tournament, right? Imagine you're in a quiet room, and then all of a sudden there's no sound. There's very very little sound, and then all of a sudden you hear like this rustling. It's like, yeah, okay. It's like, oh, game's over. The sharks, they smell the blood, right? They want to know what happens. They want to see what happened. Oh, did someone blunder? Did someone resign? Did someone flag? Sharks, they start sniffing around. Actually, guys, I'll tell you the funniest story, because Christopher Yu is in this tournament. One time when he was very young, he was playing in, I think it was like the U.S. Amateur Team West, here, somewhere in California. I think it was up in the Bay Area, and it was round one, and he I was talking about, like, you can hear when the game is over. So it was round one, and then we all heard that there's like a game that like kind of finished like quickly. It was only like 30 minutes or like an hour into the round. Still, it's round one, so it doesn't seem like that crazy. There's a lot of like big rating favorites. And anyway, so Christopher ends up, he won his game, and so he's like walking away from the board, and then he's like walking down the tournament hall, and there's still like hundreds of boards around him. But I guess he like saw his dad or something up ahead, and so he just like calls out to him. He's like, "I won!" It's like everyone heard it, like the whole, like hundreds of people. But he was just trying to communicate like he won his game. He was like, 8 years old at the time. But he just like shouted like, "I won!" Yeah, it's great. Whole room had a big laugh on that one. Yeah. Yeah, he didn't win very quickly. He probably found like some quick tactic or something. Anyway, let's see. Dominguez under pressure. Jeffrey here, he's throwing the rooks up. It's equal material, but white just has this like very very nicely protected center, and yeah, kind of unpleasant for black. I mean, he might one day end up losing this pawn on a5 actually, and yeah, in fact, why didn't white take on a5 last move? Let's see, knight takes. He could have gotten something like this, right? And then either rook takes, I'm not sure. Maybe he's worried about some knight c6 at the end, but there's always rook a4, rook c5. Feels like he already could have gotten an extra pawn. Maybe rook c2, king f1 something. But he goes rook a4, so he doesn't even take it right away. But feels like he already could have snagged it. Oh, knight a5, knight takes d4. Ah, thank you. Yes. Yeah, and then this is just hanging with check, so it's now working out. So takes. And then, as Jesse would say, draw. So that explains rook a4, defending this one ahead of time. So now if knight a5, knight d4, he can go rook takes d4. Let's say black makes some random move. Takes. Queen takes here. He takes on d8 with check, and then takes here. Okay, so let's say instead of a random move, black goes like king h7 to get out of the back rank. Then what happens here? Knight a5, knight takes d4. Still threatening this one. And you can't take on d4 with the knight because your queen will hang. So rook takes d4. But then queen takes c3. And now you're not really in time to take here because black will keep the queen. So takes, and then this looks like black is ending up with an extra exchange. So after something like king h7 here, yeah, I'm not sure white is actually ready to take on a5. Still because of this knight takes d4. But he can keep preparing it. That's the issue for black. Maybe he can like first play queen e3 or something, or queen a1. He might have some accurate move, and then one day be ready to just collect on a5. Is knight d4 possible now? Like now? Oh, takes, knight c6. Okay, let's see. Yeah, I mean, I guess if we want, we have like knight f3 and then knight e1. Can also maybe move this knight. So yeah, it feels like white has a lot of defensive possibilities. But yeah, annoying idea, especially when you have all your pieces kind of on the third, fourth, and fifth ranks. Yeah. But yeah, I'm not sure if I quite see the full justification here, if it would work. So white wants to untangle like rook a1, rook c5. Yeah, okay, so something like knight b4, yeah. To try to keep the pressure alive, for sure. Yeah, I think maybe seems like could be enough for black. Like takes, everything gets traded off. Yeah, seems like black should be winning the piece back. At least I don't see an easy way out. So knight d4 might be an option for black, although, oof, 13 minutes on the clock for Dominguez to make 16 moves until move 40. I mean, he is capable of making this kind of insane decision if he like calculates it out and just like sees everything. But yeah, it's very hard to do when you're on 12 minutes because if you do miss something, then you might not have time to recover. Whereas right now he can try to come up with a safe move, but yeah, we'll see what happens. Okay. Let's see here. Okay, a lot of games, Let's see what to look at. Okay, queen d7 from Dominguez. So he's trying to line this one up. Let's see this one. So what happened here? So rook d2, b5, Hans played. So he didn't go for this rook h3, which I thought actually was very logical. Ended up here. So black never won the pawn, so white keeps 2 pawns. Check, king b3. And yeah, b5. I thought b5 was actually quite normal because, I mean, I think black's playing for the win here. He wants to keep more pawns alive. So with b5, he keeps some more dynamic chances. I mean, if the king crosses to c4, he gets to play b4. Can be a little bit unpleasant for white. So he goes this way. Now rook e8 on the board. 2 minutes for Sevian, but he only has to make one more move before the time control, so he'll definitely manage. But yeah, I mean, black has really done a lot with the king. I mean, the king is all the way here, and I feel like now his idea is he's trying to go like b4 maybe and take the a-pawn. And then eventually just using the queen side to win. So I think some serious winning chances for Hans, for sure. You would never consider b5, really? Wow. I think it's a very natural move. I mean, whenever one side initiates, pawn tension, trying to trade pawns, right? Main thing you should think about is like, okay, do I want to trade pawns or not? And well, I mean, with the side that's up the exchange, you're playing for the win. In general, when you're playing for the win, you want to keep more pawns on the board. Uh, when you're trying to play for a draw, you generally are trying to exchange pawns. So from that point of view, I think b5 is very natural. Will you have to sack a rook for the bishop at some point? I mean, that's definitely a very common motif when you're playing with the extra exchange, in that you're looking for a favorable opportunity to give back the exchange. Whether it'll happen in this game, it's hard to say. But it feels like Sevian is kind of trying to force the issue. Because actually, with this move rook e8, definitely seems like he's just looking to go after the h-pawn. And that's a very serious counterplay. Rook h8 takes, h-pawn starts running. So this is what might force black to try to go like rook g5, rook takes g7. In fact, let's say, for example, black played b4, white went rook h8, black gives this check, white goes somewhere, and black takes this one. We end up in some rook endgame like this. Well, black is down a pawn. I mean, I like the active king, but I feel like being down a pawn is probably not going to give black a ton of winning chances here. If we could get this pawn and then keep the b pawn, then sure. But here, I think white just has too much counterplay. So this one's not really working for black, as far as I can see. So this is exactly, I think, what Hans is thinking about, like how to deal with this, because that's some very real counterplay. He does have rook d2, actually. So rook d2 is pretty serious because he's winning the f pawn. Probably with this rook. But still, rook d2, rook e8. Takes king up. White is going to win this pawn. Let's say we take. And this h pawn is always quite dangerous. But maybe this is critical. Yeah, it seems like a critical line. Hmm. Okay, yeah, so Han's really thinking here, trying to figure out what to do. If rook g5, take. Rook b8, king a4. Not in time. a6. And then rook b7 will be the issue. I think white is doing well. Is it worth it for Hans to go after the a pawn? Yeah, I mean, I think that was his idea with this thing. I think he wanted to go b4 and take, so that he could one day just run his own a pawn, and that would be a very direct, very simple, straightforward winning plan for black. If he can make a pass pawn, he's just going to eventually win white's bishop for it, and then you'll have an extra rook. The issue, as he's calculating right now, is that white has their own counterplay, right? So this is very difficult to deal with. And of course, white's play is a lot faster than our a pawn, right? Doesn't even... Not even close. That said, black can maybe try to bail out here somewhere as soon as the rook goes to h8, but yeah, that's well, difficult rook endgame to calculate. Maybe this is what Hans is thinking about. Let's say he gives this check now and goes a5. White plays here, because what else, right? You got to unpin, and then at this point black takes. And we get some endgame like this, where black is going to try to count on the queen side. Really hard to evaluate something like this for me. Really hard. I mean, I think you would just have to try to calculate it out from here. But yeah, who knows what's going on. Maybe draw. Maybe draw would be most likely result. Yeah, hard to say though. But I think Hans is trying to keep his winning chances alive, so I feel like he's not going to be super interested in any kind of rook endgame that looks murky. Right, rook d2 seems like the critical move. But then rook h8. And I guess black takes. And yeah, I don't really know what to think about this one, because white is, again, taking this h-pawn and then going to run the h6 pawn at some point. Yeah, so if rook e2 and take, then check, I guess here. And then continuing with the plan. So super sharp. Doesn't seem easy for black at all here. Okay. Yeah, you guys are making it sound really easy, so very impressive. So rook d2, let's see. So here, takes, here, let's say take, and then yeah, how to win this for black is not really clear for me. Yeah, this is an option for sure. And then here. The problem is black ends up down a pawn. And I don't think black has a lot of winning chances here. Like maybe rook b8 or a6 first, and then rook b8, rook b7. Seems like white is totally fine. Maybe more than fine. So that's kind of why black doesn't want to just give the rook back, because I think he's trying to keep more winning chances on the board. Yeah, Sam definitely a super, super strong player. Super strong. Both Sams are good, in fact. What about b4? Okay, b4 at what point? Right here, right now in the live position? Well, white will go rook h8. See what's going on in the official broadcast. They're looking at, yeah, Lennerman So, also a very interesting game. Feels like Lennerman is putting some pressure there. But we'll see. So, very capable defender. So yeah, b4, rook h8. Yeah, I think we looked at this a little bit. So let's say check, king goes somewhere, take here, take. Yeah, I was thinking like rook b8 here, right? Just latching on. I mean, white's still up a pawn. And then again, once a6, rook b7. So if anything looks better for white. Yeah. Robson drew already. Okay, we got some rook d2 lines. All right, back to rook d2. I'm with you guys. Rook d2 feels critical. Just doesn't seem that easy, but okay, rook d2, rook h8. And clearly Hans is spending a lot of time, so he agrees. Not so easy. Rook f takes. King g3. Rook takes here, rook takes here. Okay, now Lad Beymon wants rook takes b2 in this position. Oh wait, after rook h8. Wait, but it's black to play here. Okay, but Google fan wanted this one. King e2. Oh, and rook takes g7 like this. No, wait, but it's not gonna work, right? I just take with the pawn. Yeah, agreed. Okay, so then we're still looking for a continuation for white here. So yeah, someone was saying computer giving -3 advantage for black, but as we can see, it's like really not that obvious. So yeah, shows how the computer often makes things seem a lot easier than they really are for a game between two humans. Yeah. So Han's still thinking. Unfortunately, he doesn't have a clean way to defend h7. You know, he'd love to just be able to just defend this one and then just slowly kind of keep the position, but no, he's going to have to figure something sharp out. But yeah, I don't see any +3 here for black, to be honest with you guys. It looks very, very tough. Shankland, sack the exchange. Let's go back a couple moves. Rook b3, h4, h5. Wow, rook takes a5, huh? What a satisfying move to make. I mean, I don't know if he's really gonna have much here. Fabi just played king g7. But yeah, no risk for white, I would say. Very, very little risk. I guess you could always lose this. I mean, you can always lose anything. You can just allow both rooks to get in on the second rank, and then you would be done. So yeah, one move e3, and you could just be like lost on the spot. But okay, I don't think he's gonna do that. I think he's gonna keep the bishop guarding e2, not allowing black's rook any serious activity. But yeah, whether he can actually win this one. Yeah, seems hard to imagine. I mean, he can attack the d pawn multiple times, but I think the rook is just going to d7, and yeah, seems hard to see how white wins this. But yeah, he could win hypothetically. Let's say we put the rook like on e6 or e5, and black it just sits mega passive and then does nothing, and then white brings the king in to like g5, and then go rook e6, rook takes g. Yeah, then white wins, but black of course is gonna prevent these ideas, so it's definitely feeling like much closer to a draw than anything else. Okay, Hans still thinking. He's been thinking on this one for like 15 minutes. Very, very long think. Levon. Uh-oh. Everything under attack. 94 bishop d3. I guess I would expect rook b3 here. But then takes. We got opposite color bishops. Black is going to try to blockade. Oh, and they already... Looks like their game's over. What's the result? Did Levon win? Levon won the game after rook b3. I'm very confused. Oh, I guess he just resigned. I guess just takes, and yeah, this one's falling, this one's falling. Yeah, just losing. Just losing. Yeah, let's go back to the Hans game. So nice one for Levon there. There's a question about rook takes b2. Yeah, which point? So we were looking at rook d2, rook h8, takes, king g3, and then at what point did you want to try rook takes b2? Rook h2 takes. Say check here, rook b2. Okay, so let's say white takes, right? We take with the king. And then I would think white has to be at least fine. Like, if we just want to make a draw. So I'm like b4 first? Yeah. Maybe a6. Maybe white also waits. But here I think like rook h8 is possible as well as a bishop move. I'm not even sure. Let's say a6 for white. So yeah, b4 I'll go a6 here, I think, is white. Okay, so rook g6. Now let's try rook h8. And where do you want to take master? You want to take on b2? Okay, so take. And yeah, I don't see why white should be worse here. I mean, the h pawn is really strong. Our king is active. Like, I mean, I think if white wants to just make an easy draw, just like rook b8, threatening h7. But this seems pretty. I guess here black could at least take and then play here and win the a pawn, but I think white's king is it gets close enough here very quickly that this should be a draw. I don't think black is going to be able to untangle here. If rook h8 after b4, I think that's also possible. I played a6 just because I thought it would be helpful in all these rook end games to have the a pawn advance. I think this is also a reasonable move. To me, it looks like, again, unclear. Like, I think white has enough. At least I don't see an obvious way for black to win this. Yeah. Wait, two pawns versus rook endgame. Wait, which one? That was this line? Rook g6 here. And then what do we want here? Oh, to take this one and then sack the rooks for the bishop. Yeah, good luck with that. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. These conceptual ideas are nice, but of course, it's always going to be concrete, right? So it's a question of whether you can actually get it. It seems like aiming with black makes the position worse. I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that. Um, I mean, black wants to improve. Black wants to advance the king, push b3, take the pawn. Black has ways to improve their position. Do we get a move here from Hans? I mean, yeah, this clock has been ticking down. Looks like he's down to 32 minutes. I don't see a move yet from him. Yeah, I don't know if he's played yet. Okay, Jeffrey Dominguez, by the way, this one did end in a draw. Dominguez found a way to liquidate. So queen d7. Wow, insane calculation. You're like, allowing knight b6 looks just like a blunder, but he's got knight takes d4 counter. And apparently all the tactics just work out. And we just get 4 versus 4. Yeah, it's probably in their files. Probably in their files, as usual. Okay, Shankland, all right, he put his rook on b2, and then he played e3. So he's now in not going to lose mode. Okay, yeah, I don't see a move from Hans yet. Where did he go? Where did he move? Actually, why don't we take this moment to check out the U.S. Women's Championship real quick. So people are asking for the Jennifer Yu Irina Crush game. Yeah, this one is also super important for the standings here. And yeah, this one was like a really interesting opening. It was kind of like a King's Indian Benoni hybrid. Because Irina, I think, is behind in the standings. Yeah, by half a point and 2 rounds to go. So she kind of needs to play for a win this game. And they essentially, after f4, they essentially transpose into a 4 pawns attack in the King's Indian. I mean, this definitely isn't, I think, the best that white can do here, but it's certainly very aggressive. So e6. And then she took. After 10-minute thought. So fe6, bishop e2. Yeah, I'm not sure how 91. Yeah, I don't know how familiar Jennifer is with this line. I mean, the 4 pawns attack is not too scary for black. And then with d6, fe, yeah, I think the structure is known to be quite reasonable. Like exactly what Irina did. Knight comes to d4, queen can come to e7. Here you can't really take on d4 because black's 2 bishops would be way too strong. Knight e4, for example. So bishop d3. Queen e7. Yeah, I mean, this is a line. I just don't think it's particularly dangerous for black. The main move here is to go bishop e2. And yeah, just try to keep the space advantage. But of course, there's, you know, very, very sharp position. So, yeah, I think Jennifer probably was just a little bit surprised in the opening and trying to get the opponent out of book. But still looks like fairly comfortable position for Irina. Takes. Knight c2. Oh, Yasser was critical of knight e1. Yeah, I mean, right, not the most obvious move in the position. It kind of makes sense. You do see the knight on c2 in a lot of structures that are like resemble the Marazzi bind, but this isn't exactly that, right? I mean, it's like different position. I think white does have to kind of play this one more actively. Like knight should be going to g5 and like bishop f3, but okay, it's not easy to play a structure you're unfamiliar with, right? But anyway, I mean, feels like she got the knight to c2, so kind of justifies her idea. This knight went to d5. And the knights ended up getting traded off, but yeah, black ends up with this fantastic e5 square for the pieces. So it definitely feels quite comfortable here for black. So queen e2 takes... Oh, so she just snags a pawn. Because knight f3 was threatened. So h4, bishop d4, king g2, rook f1, queen d7. So Irina got the extra pawn. White does have some counterplay, like h5 is coming and the light square bishop is going to open up here. But gotta feel like I like black's position. I mean, knight on e5, dark square bishop, very, very strong pieces. Really strong. Yeah, d6, well, I mean, it's a move. It's been played many times before and by some really, really strong players. Like, many GMs have played this move. It's, again, yeah, not the most critical move in the position. But it's one of those things, it's like, even if Jennifer knows, like, bishop e2 is critical, again, she's kind of, like, not expecting to play this opening, so to walk into a sharp position where you're not really well prepared, I can understand the intention to kind of try to do something a little bit unexpected. But yeah, I mean, it's not like this structure is that bad for white. Like, bishop e3, queen d2, knight g5. It's very playable. But yeah, definitely I think Irina won the opening battle because probably white wasn't expecting this one, and yeah, not sure exactly how to develop here because it's not exactly King's Indian, it's not a Benoni yet, so white still has to make some decisions. I think knight f3, bishop d3, h3, like this is like a very reliable setup. Knight e2, knight g3, also not bad, but yeah, this one very aggressive and doesn't seem to have really fully worked out. Anyway, yeah, now rook f1, queen d7, 12 moves to make before the time control, and they're down to 11 minutes versus 5. So this is going to be a pretty serious time pressure for both players because there's lots of pieces on the board still and lots of decisions to be made and not a lot of time. So Jennifer really on the bigger side of the pressure with only 5 minutes here. And the worst position, you know, down a pawn. From white's point of view, you're feeling like you really need to make something happen here with h5 because otherwise black's going to go a6, b5, and just slowly take over on the queen side. Does Irina usually play the Benko? Is that true? I thought Irina's more of a classical player, so she's usually playing like Slav or Queen's Gambit Declined. Solid stuff. Okay. Oh, sorry. I had the chess.com chat open. I'm so sorry. There's probably some very offensive stuff there. Let's look at the Tadev game against Rochelle Wu. She's got the two bishops. Black has the what else? So funny. Okay, knight f3, d6. Look at Han's position. Sorry, this isn't Alexa. It's not something you can just like, okay, Google, look at Hans's position. Oh, it responded to me.
Here's what I found.
Oh, man. Hilarious. All right, so classical Sicilian. Queen d3. I guess this is... usual move is queen d2, but I'm sure queen d3 is some idea. That's better. Castles, f4, h4. So very classic sacrifice offered by Tadev here, where if black wants to take this bishop, then HG opening up the H file is just going to be super, super dangerous for black. And yeah, I think most players, they just don't want any part of that. So rook d8, bishop d3. Yeah, white just leaves the bishop hanging. And then finally takes back, bishop e6, rook e1. Seemed like black's position is not too bad here. So knight e5. Apparently white could have taken on h6 here. But then h4 might be hanging, or actually no, not like that, but maybe with the queen, like this. So keeping this one defended with the bishop. So rook e4, queen a5, rook f1, threatening rook takes f6, knight takes d3 played, cd3, rook a c8, and now rook takes f6 on the board. Yeah, what's happening here? Rook takes c1, king takes, queen takes a2. No, I don't think this was planned by Rochelle. No, I think she just blundered it. I think she just blundered, like white played rook f1. Well, she's down to 2 minutes, remember, folks. So she's in heavy time pressure here. So takes, rook f6. And I think she just missed it. Although it should be said, like the position's kind of difficult for black because white is threatening this one. And by the way, this is a threat and this is a threat, like regardless of whatever like black does with. So if like king h7 here, then this could still be potentially just like devastating. And then queen f4, and then I mean black's king side is just absolutely wrecked here. So I feel like her position may be already bad, and I'm not sure exactly how black could have held it together. Just looking at this position, this already just looks, it might just already be gone. So maybe this was just her last chance, like rook c8 trying to sack, but seems like white should have a way to keep the extra rook. Like rook f4 here looks simple to me, followed by rook c4 in case of rook c8 check. And then seems like white should be handling all the checks nicely. Maybe black can try something like b5 and cover this one. Rook takes d6. Yeah, you know, could be possible as well. If check, we have this one. And then take, something like this. And it feels like white should get out of the checks soon enough. The queen being in position to defend. So queen takes a2. Tadev only having 6 minutes here. 15 moves to make until the time control, but I'm assuming if white makes like an accurate move here, then she should be winning. I mean, technically it doesn't even have to move the rook. Could play like rook c4. Cover the c file there. Oh, did I blunder something? Oh, my bad. What line do we have? We had this. Check. Here. Oh, there was queen f4 at the end. Excuse me. Yeah, you're right. Queen f4. Yeah. So white would have to avoid something like that. That would be bad. So, assuming white can avoid blundering like that, then should be able to win. So maybe the king just starts walking over towards the h2 square, something like this. So yeah, still kind of tricky, and as you guys can see, it's very possible for white to lose this with one false move. So maybe this was a good practical try from black's point of view. Again, other than rook c8, like I don't actually see a reasonable defense here for black. I mean, maybe yeah, I don't know what black plays here to get out of the attack. Right, just looks busted, yeah. Okay, well anyway, so now Tadev is thinking here. I think she'll find the right move there and win it. see. Jennifer. Okay, she took on e5. So she gives up the bishop here in order to get a position with opposite color bishops. So it's still very much up in the air. I mean, queens are on the board, and black's bishop, I think, is very good. It's like nicely anchored, but white's bishop also has a very clear target on the king side. So h5 coming, so actually some reasonable chances here for Jennifer to hold this one, because it's going to be hard for black to deal with the pressure on the f-file, and if you go queen e7 and rook f8 and trade everything off, then one extra pawn is not going to be enough for white to for black to win the endgame with that opposite color bishops. So yeah, I like this decision. Oh, we have some moves. Oh, bishop a4 played. Takes, check here, and h5. Wow, she just gave up the bishop. Was that necessary? This feels very unnecessary. Yeah, I mean, she does have some annoying stuff in mind. She wants h6 and queen f8. So this is kind of like, wow. I mean, I feel like it shouldn't work, but there is some poison to it. One question is what happens if black takes the pawn, because it's going to be very slow for white to do anything. So queen c2, I think rook f2 is going to be the answer. Then maybe queen e4 check. Yeah, it doesn't feel like this should be working. And then rook can move. Hans can force a draw. Last we saw, I thought Hans was playing for the win, so I'm assuming he can still force a draw at any moment. I thought he was pushing for the win. Anyway, this is very surprising from Jennifer. I don't know. It didn't seem necessary. I thought like you just go h5 here as white, and I don't know if she thought she's like winning or what, but it's very confusing to me because I really don't get it. This seems like such an obvious move, and then white gets some immediate play, and black doesn't have any, you know. At least play this one, and now maybe this is a threat, right? Because then you're like, then you've got queen f7 and then h6, and then you've actually got some threats there. But even there, rook g8 just kind of defense, or at least you're trying to take. Okay, so h5, gh5 played, but gh5 also just looks like the simplest way, because then it's like, where are white's threats? Yeah. So yeah, big mistake and time trouble here, feels like. Yeah. This doesn't seem like this was the plan. Okay, now rook f5. Well, very clear idea. I just don't feel like it should work. I mean, minimum, like after queen c2 check, black is always going to be defending this one. So as long as the rook is protected, even rook g8 here just looks like resigns. Okay, wait, hold on. White has another idea to take, and then has this perpetual. So if this one take here, then white can make a draw like this. So maybe this is part of her idea. Looks like Irina just played like quiet move bishop d4. Did I see that right? Bishop d4. Okay, so now opening up rook e2 check, and then if rook takes h5, there's still queen c2, and then white's king is, yeah, queen c2, queen g6, I think just ends it. Like takes, check, here, and here, if nothing else. Oh wait, I'm sorry, ends it, but for white. White, Jennifer would win, 1-0. So, what to do? Bishop d4, I mean, I think this was played, it's not on this board yet. So if takes, I guess check and then move the rook. And then it looks over. How easy is Hans's endgame to convert? I thought Hans was playing for the draw. Now it's how easy is it to convert his endgame? Guys, someone tell me what's going on in the Hans game. How is the evaluation switching this quickly? First it was like, oh, Hans is winning. And then it was, oh, is he going to be able to force a draw? And now, how easy is it to convert? Yeah. Okay, bishop d4. Yeah, I'm gonna say Irina wins this one then and takes over the lead. So we'll see what happens in the last round. Let's jump back to the US Championship. So 3 games left here. Looks like Fabi Shanklin drew, by the way. Not too unexpected. Neither side could really do much here. Okay, Hans game. So yeah, he had this incredibly long think. Here, we were analyzing for some time. He ended up playing rook df7 after 30 minutes. So hitting this one. White played rook h8. Rook g5 check, king h3. And yeah, still looks very messy as before. So I would say the human evaluation hasn't changed too much. It looks like black is better, but yeah, definitely not easy to win this because white has a lot of counterplay. So still a big fight left here. Yeah, and if he has some concrete win according to the engine, then will be based on whether he can find it or not. Why is he thinking so much about rook takes f2? Well, look, Samster, he's thinking about other moves in the position, right? Like, so, because there's like other moves that you could consider, you know? And I don't know if rook takes f2 is like the engine suggestion, but you have to keep in mind the players, they don't know what the engine is suggesting, right? So it's not like they see the engine moves and they're like, all right, let me just choose one. So, right, they're looking at the position on their own, and so they don't know if there's a best move, if there's an obvious best move, if there's multiple moves that keep the evaluation. They don't know any of that stuff. Yeah. Yeah, but you don't just play the first move that looks natural, right? Because you might have a stronger move that is not obvious. So for example, look, after a long think, he played b4. Now you might ask, like, well, why did he do this one? Well, the idea with b4, number one, you're hitting the a pawn. So this might be a more valuable pawn to take, because then black can start running their own a pawn. The other thing is that if black can one day win the b pawn, then his own b pawn's stronger. So see, like, I mean, in chess, like, even the simplest positions can actually have a ton of complexity. I mean, this is definitely not a simple position by any means. So there's always lots of stuff to choose. And by the way, guys, we do have a semi-strict no eval rule on this channel. So if you keep putting evals in the chat, like, we're just gonna kick you. Yeah, I feel like some people, they do it, I don't know, like they're like trying to troll or whatever, but it's just fine. You know, I have nothing against trolling, but you can get kicked. That's the problem. Yeah. God, Well, Val, thanks for subscribing. Much appreciated. Okay, Fabi looking at his game now. So yeah, see Hans, lots of options there. He ends up going with b4. This could have been an option as well. Rook g6 with a very cheeky threat of rook f5, rook h5. Maybe something to consider. How does White ever do anything with the h pawn? Well, I mean, White wants to go rook takes h7, right? And then move the rook, move the rook, move the pawn, move the pawn. So he's like 3-4 moves away from promoting. So yeah. Now at some point maybe Black will have a clever way to give the rook back for the bishop, but yeah, again, if he's playing for the win, he's gonna have to be very precise about how he does that, because he's gonna be going into rook endgame. So yeah, this one's still very complicated, I would say. Very, very tricky. Yeah, that's the thing about the engine. Just like makes things feel simple. Like, oh, okay, you see the evaluation, Black is winning, and it's like, oh, okay, I guess Black is winning, and then everything feels so simple. But then when you sit down at the board, it's like, like, yeah, it's really hard actually. Yeah, very, very tough. Even Fabi said he doesn't understand this Hans Sam game. Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, chess is a hard game. I mean, it's like, it's like, that's why it's fun. Cause like if it was so easy, you wouldn't see these guys like making mistakes like every game, like all the time. That's how you can tell when someone's like new to the chess scene, because like someone makes a mistake and they're like, "Wow, how did that happen? How did they make a mistake?" It's like they've never kind of like watched the full tournament before. Okay, looks like Irina game over, and I think she won. So yeah, that was a very unfortunate time trouble for Jennifer, because it seems like at least there was a lot of fight there. She was definitely worse in that game, but it seemed like there was a lot of fight left, and she kind of gave it away with the bishop a4 move. Yeah, pause to reflect in the chat makes a good point. I was thinking about this earlier. It's like a lot of times what happens, the engine shows some winning line, or it shows a winning evaluation, but it's based on just some like insane computer line, and then in actual fact, there's like 3-4 ways to go wrong. Every step along the way. If you have some winning variations like 10 moves long, but you have like 10 different ways to mess it up, like all over the place, then it's actually just a very, very, very drawish position at that point. Like if most lines lead to a draw, but the engine finds some like insane winning line, then it's like, yeah, actually the practical evaluation of that position is that it's a very drawish endgame, and that yeah, sometimes there's just like some freak winning lines that pop up from time to time. Whereas people that are just like, they just turn the eval on, they see the engine shows that it's winning. It's like, oh, I guess it's a winning endgame. Oh, I guess they threw that winning endgame because they didn't find a 22 move winning line. Wow, I can't believe they didn't play all the best engine moves. Yeah, of course, there's also a ton of cases where the engine just gets stuff wrong. It just doesn't see far enough or misevaluates the position. Yeah. Um. So yeah, now Sevian thinking, trying to figure it out. Um. Question if a sack. There has to be a sack at some point. I mean, it seems hard that for Black to win with White's bishop kind of locking everything down. It's very possible if the rooks can organize and create some mating threats, and black can definitely win like that. But yeah, very sure position because white just wants to take on h7, start running that h-pawn. Is two rooks better than rook and bishop? Yeah. Absolutely. But white has two pawns for the exchange, so the material is rather balanced. And then if you look at the actual material, white's h-pawn is very, very strong, right? Because it's very far advanced. Black's b-pawn is also not bad, but it's not as strong as the h-pawn. And it's also not obvious how black is going to break through. Like at some point might need to give the exchange, but then, yeah, don't think he's got a lot. Can Hans go rook h5 and then rook h6? Well, it's white to play, so do you mean after rook takes h7? Then this definitely feels like a possible idea. Again, going into like rook endgame, something like this. And yeah. Yeah, possible, but very unclear. White two pawns up for the moment, then maybe black wins one back. We'll rely on the strong b pawn. And then seems like we're off to the races. You know, white's got this h pawn, active king. Black's got the b pawn. So oh, looks winning for black. Yeah, it doesn't seem that clear to me, but definitely a possibility. So maybe this is what Sam is thinking about, whether he can take on h7 first, or maybe he needs to come up with some other move, like king h4. He can also play a6 here and just throw this one in if he's not ready to take on h7. White is losing with the f. Yeah, I'm not sure I understand that. Do I think it would be helpful if pawn or even piece values would increase or decrease closer pawns are to promotion? Yeah, in general, the farther advanced the pawn is, the stronger it is. So 5th rank, 6th rank, 7th rank, the pawn gets stronger and stronger. But of course, it's like a concrete thing as well, right? Because if the pawn is so advanced that it becomes weak and taken, then it's worth very little at that point, right? So that's always the balance there. But yeah, in general, the further a pawn advances, let's say safely, then the stronger it is. Like this pawn on h6 is very strong. Oh, I see. So you want to go? Wait, but rook takes f2 in which position? After taking on h7, or where exactly were you guys talking about? Rook takes f2. Okay, king h4 play. So yeah, Sevian maybe didn't like this line. The rook h5, rook takes h6. Nice tactic. So he goes king h4, hitting the rook first. Then he maybe even wants king h5 or something for taking. Yeah, sorry folks, there's a lot of people suggesting lines, so I might not always understand what's being suggested, so just bear with me. Yeah, Zacer, we've been analyzing this one, I mean, almost every turn. In general, I think the rook endgame doesn't provide black a lot of winning chances. something like this, a6. It'd have to be a very precise rook endgame that black is winning, because I think white is often getting a lot of counterplay like this. Yeah, so now rook takes a5. That's definitely possible. Yeah. Then I would expect this one from Sam. Okay, rook g2. All right, so rook g2. My board's being a little laggy. All right, so let's say white takes. Black takes this one. White goes somewhere with the king. Rook takes f2. And then we get some endgame position like this. Yeah, I'm not sure what's happening here. We were looking at something earlier like this. Let's say white goes a6. Okay, chat says this one looks winning. So yeah, how does black win here? It definitely doesn't look so obvious to me. Okay, which rook, please? Come on. Yeah, I wasn't watching the post game interview, so I'll have to check that out later. Okay, h rook, right? All right, so let's say king goes back. Okay, I can do give me the rook, like the piece. Yeah, because I can understand f7 what you mean, but normally if you say f7, that means like pawn to f7, right? Okay, rook f7. So let's say rook h8. If rook f1, then king h3 would be the response. But maybe black can win like this, like rook g6, and then threatening mate, and then if king h2, rook f5. So yeah, this is an example of how black wins without ever having to give the exchange back. So actually, this line feels kind of convincing. Yeah. Rook f1. Is the rook endgame winning? Yeah, I'm not sure. It certainly doesn't seem obvious at first glance. But yeah, actually, this one does look very annoying, because if rook b8, then there's rook a6, rook g6, right? And just taking this one. So this starts to look winning from here. Yeah. But I like this rook f1 line. That's very clean. In the previous position, should rook takes a5 win? I don't know. This should is a very strong word. I don't really know, guys. I'm just kind of looking at the position, like without the engine, no eval. To me, it looks like a very complicated position where black is the exchange up, white has some pawns, white has counterplay. So should be winning. That's strong language, very strong language. Could be winning. I would say could be winning. Yeah, should be winning. Oof, I don't know if I would go that far. Cause yeah, I mean rook takes h7. And then what, right? Like white again is trying to run the pawn and start to promote. But I thought this line we just looked at was pretty convincing, actually. Like rook g2 here. And then black is ready to set up these mates with rook takes f2 and rook takes h2. Can white just move pawns here? I mean, that's within the rules. I don't know which pawn move would be a great idea necessarily, because everything is kind of hanging. Okay, so if rook takes a5 here, king takes b2. No, unfortunately, that's not how pins work, my friend. It's a valiant effort, but yeah, that's not how pins work. Yeah, all good, all good. Tied of one. Okay, yeah, that's not too surprising. Look, yeah, that position looked winning. Yeah, Delpesky, I think we concluded this line looks good after rook g2 and this one here. So it's a question of whether Hans will find it or maybe he'll go for something else. Because there seems to be options as well, like rook takes a5 also looks natural. Oh, rook g2, bishop e5. Yeah, it's hard for a human to make this move, right? Because it's like unattacking the h7 pawn. So it seems like Hans would be very happy to just snag this pawn and then ask white what he's doing from here. Oh, take on h7 first. Yeah, that's more logical. So take, and then here. This one. Yeah. This feels like more counterplay for white, right? Definitely not that easy for black still here. Yeah. Yeah. As I was saying, looks like lots of counterplay for white. Human evaluation wins out. So not so simple. Not so simple. Okay, we also still have the Wonder Liang endgame against Daro, which is pretty interesting. But yeah, I kind of want to stick with this one just to see how it plays out. Okay, what's happening after? Let's try rook takes a5, rook takes h7, rook takes f2. I guess my first try would be rook h8, right? To try to get the pawn moving. I think this seems pretty logical. Oh, we have a move. Rook g6 from Hans. Rook g6. What's going on? This makes me feel like he's playing for mate. Okay, let's look at that line real quick. So, because we'll have time. So rook takes a5. Someone's asking about this. So takes here. Say rook takes h2. King moves. Second rook. And now, yeah, what to do here for white? Yeah, very fair point, because if obviously we can't push h7, black just wants to push a5, a4, and then just run this one, right? And then, yeah, if we play rook a8, then here I think black just takes this one. white takes here. And I think, yeah, just snags here, and white's king is way too far away to save this. So even here, and yeah, this completely lost for white. Lucina incoming. Absolutely. So yeah, that actually feels pretty clean as well. So that was take, take, take. Okay, maybe white has other moves here. Maybe like king g3, for example, can keep the game messy. But in terms of just this line, I would say this feels pretty clearly winning. This is a nice construction because black has the counterplay and nothing for white to do without eventually allowing this one. And then the resulting rook endgame, that one is really tough because white just doesn't have enough play there. So king h4, rook g6. Yeah, so for whatever reason, he decided not to go for this one, not to go for this one. Again, guys, the players, they don't have the engines next to them or the eval bar. So they might have an inkling, like, okay, I'm up the exchange, might be winning here. But, and Hans, I mean, he's usually pretty optimistic. He's like, oh, of course, completely winning, completely winning. I mean, I think a little too optimistic sometimes. But anyway, players, they might have an inkling, but they don't know exactly what are the best moves. So that's kind of up to them to figure it out on their own. And then sometimes you don't see like a clear win, so then you don't go for the move because you don't see that it's clearly winning. You know what I mean? And then you end up playing like a different move just because rook g6 feels like it still keeps a lot of tension. And now black has ideas like giving checks, taking this one, playing for different mates. Like, for example, let's say you give this check. I don't know, white makes a move. Okay, rook takes h7 here. Seems possible. Well, I guess rook h7 feels like. Yeah, but then something like takes, for example, king h5, rook comes down, h4, right, to stop the mate, and then rook f5, you get mated anyway. So this seems to be like he's maybe fishing for some mates. Rook h7, I mean, feels like the first move I would look at, but yeah, I'm guessing the idea is then to take and go for the mate. Right, so takes. If king h5, then rook comes down. Or maybe rook g3, I'm not sure. I guess h3 is still a move here. You know, black can really be annoying with this king. But yeah, I don't quite see how white gets mated here. But then there's always, black can always revert to this plan, just piling up and stopping the h-pawn that way. Yeah, it definitely looks like black has very good winning chances. I would say that this position is really hard, it seems, for white to handle perfectly. Hard for both sides to handle perfectly, but the problem is when white makes mistakes, they end up losing the game here. Yeah, the time trouble is definitely going to be a factor here. What's up, Brayden? Hopefully you're feeling better, buddy. Yeah, we need a command for this Magnus question. People keep asking, why is it Magnus playing? Maybe he will one day. Who knows? Okay, 12 minutes for Sevian. Yeah, let's switch to the Hikaru game. Oh, he probably does have a game, actually, because it's Title Tuesday. I guess we could switch if you guys want. problem. Okay, what's going on in the women's championship? Ooh, I do like Sophie's position. That looks good. There's Zatonsky against Paikidze. Yeah, interesting endgame there as well. Do I know what happened with the guy who resigned? I think Magnus played like e4, g5. Yeah, Mamedov, right? The grandmaster. I know Ruff. He's a nice guy. Ooh, rook g6. Okay, so he goes for this one. Wow, that's a bold decision by Hans. So he's going for the rook endgame, a pawn down. But he's saying that this is winning because he's going to be able to take the b pawn, and then his b pawn is really strong. Wow, very instructive decision. I mean, if this works. But yeah, I don't think that Mamedov thing was like a big deal. I think he was just like a little. Yeah, he just didn't want to face like a troll opening 1g5, and that was that. I don't think it's like a story on the level of like the Hans thing or anything like that. I don't think it was a big story at all. I think nowadays everything just turns into a story. So yeah, is Black still playing for the win here? I mean, um, it looks much more pleasant for Black, yeah, because his B pawn is very very dangerous, and it's not easy for White to get behind the pawn, right? So you can go here, but then Black takes. He can get behind. Black pushes, and then he's just gonna hide behind the A pawn, and it looks very interesting for Black. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think that Mamino thing was a big deal. I think he's just kind of like a little annoyed by Magnus and decided like he doesn't want to play those games. Well, can the F pawn run quick? Well, let's see. Let's see. So let's say here takes here push push. Say here push push. Let's say here. Come down this way. All right. And now what do you guys want to do as White here? Because this would be a critical moment for White. If you push f7, then Black's going rook f2 and winning the pawn. But this seems to be like a critical variation. All right, there's h3. King h3. King h3, rook f2, you're losing the pawn. All right, Pumpkin's already evaluated the position. No need to calculate further. Hopefully you're right. Okay, h3. Oh, wait. I think we missed easier, right? Rook g6. Yeah, so I don't see how white saves this one. Rook b2 check and resign? You mean for who? For white or? So white goes, rook takes b2 and then resigns. Yeah, right. So yeah, so that's kind of black's idea here. So f4 played. So he doesn't spend time getting the rook behind. And I think he's maybe going to try to defend from the side, it seems. Like rook e6, rook e2 would be another way. So we're going to get something like takes, f5, b3, rook e6, something like that. And it's still very unclear, actually. I kind of like this more from Sam. It seems faster. Yeah, it would have been nice if Black had a chance to snag that pawn earlier, but for whatever reason, he must not have thought it was he was in time there. Yeah. So yeah, so if king b2 now, f5, b3, rook g6. Oh, wait, they're done. Sevian and Hans are like discussing the position. Something's going on actually. I feel like they're having some kind of dispute. I'm just watching on the live feed. Yeah, they're getting some kind of like touch move dispute or something. Just based on their language. I'm not clear what's happening. Just watching on the screen. All right, but Sevian's cool. Looks like game's gonna continue. Hans is saying that Sam touched this game. Yeah, I'm not listening to the official broadcast, so maybe someone can check in and tell us what's going on there because they'll probably know for sure. Yeah, and they're fighting, and they got to be separated. Yeah, I don't know exactly what happened. It doesn't seem like it's gonna affect the game. I mean, sometimes people just touch pieces accidentally. Oh, okay, here comes the instant replay. Wait, what the hell? Wait, from what I'm seeing on the picture, Sam just like grabbed Black's king because it was like broken or something. That's very strange. I have no idea what's going on. I guess like the top of the king is like broken and Sam grabbed it, but it was like Hans's turn. So I don't know why he's like touching the pieces at all. That's weird, right? Like why are you? No, no, no. He didn't pick up the king to play with it. No, 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 no. Hold on. Zero chance he picked up the king to play with it. That's not. No. But he picked up the king for I don't know why though. I think he saw it was broken or something, and so he picks it up. But I have no idea why he did that. It's a little confusing, honestly. But it's like Hans's turn, and then he literally just picks up the king, and then like the piece breaks off. It's like, what are you doing? Yeah, this is really, really odd. I don't understand what what happened. You just don't. I mean, you just don't really do it. It's like Hans's turn. Normally, if you adjust the piece for any reason, it's like your turn. You say adjust, you adjust the piece, or you say should do. Here, it's like Hans was just like thinking, and then Seven just like all of a sudden, just like grabs his king, and then like a piece breaks up. Very confusing. Really confusing. I don't know what happened there. I mean, Hans has a right to be upset because, I mean, Sevian totally just like broke his concentration there. I can't show the clip because I think there's going to be some copyright issues with St. Louis, but I'm sure the clip is going to be all over the internet now in like 2 seconds. So if you give it 2 seconds, I'm sure it'll be on Reddit and Twitter and stuff. It's very confusing. I mean, Sam is not one to do anything, like it's like bad sportsmanship or pull and eat stunts or anything like that. I mean, yeah, if it's a psychological trick, I don't even get what the trick is. I'm just kind of confused. I'm not really um I don't know. Any explanations that we have, I think, are just going to be pure speculation at this point. I think hopefully they'll ask Sam after the game, like, what the heck was that about? Because the video is just strange. Like, I can't tell what's going on based off of just the video. But they seem to be playing back, and now that this is the live position, so King takes B2, F5 on the board. All right, here's the video again. It's on. They're playing it on the official broadcast. Sam grabs the king, takes it, and then he like starts looking at it, and then the top breaks off, and then it really just looks like he took Hans's king and then broke off the top. He was like, it looked like he was like examining it. It's just weird. And then they're like chatting. Hans is like, "What? Why would you just do that?" He's making a statement in support of separation of church and chess. Right now, that's our leading theory. I mean, that has about as much credibility as like the beads thing. Is that he's making some kind of statement about the separation of church and chess? Um, could you lose the game for that? I don't think so. It would have to be like really egregious for the arbiter to step in and do that. Yeah, in general, like there's no reason to touch the opponent's to touch anything while your opponent is thinking. Like in chess, while your opponent has the turn, you actually have no rights. You're not allowed to like claim a draw or claim anything. And it's bad etiquette to adjust or touch any pieces, right? And then when it's your turn, then okay, it's like if a piece is off center or whatever, you're allowed to adjust, no problem. But I don't think this was like an adjust thing. It's not like he was trying to adjust the king. That's not what it looks like to me. Thank you, Braden. Yeah, there's the clip if you want to see what happened. Yeah, while it's your opponent's turn in a chess game, you're actually in danger. You could be arrested. They can search your house. You don't have any rights. And yeah, I don't know why he put it on the b6 square. I mean, obviously he doesn't actually think the king was here, right? I think we can safely assume that for 2684 Sevian. It looked like he just threw the king back. I don't know. Sevian looked like disturbed. Commentators are also confused. Yeah, if you guys are watching the official, let me know if they have any. I feel like we're not going to find out until they interview him after. Maybe Hans will know. Okay, F6 on the board. Yeah, I mean it's cool that we were blessed to be able to witness that live. I mean that's kind of fun. Um, so F6. Actually, it's surprising that he played it with his rook still here, because now it feels like White's rook is lacking mobility. Yeah, it was very strange. And then they were talking to each other. Also, what were they saying to each other? It looked like Sam was like asking him something. It was like very confusing. Very confusing. Is it? Okay, Rook G2 now. Which feels like a very annoying move for White, because if F7, Rook F2, and then White can defend the pawn. But oh, what about the B pawn? So Rook G2, and yeah, it doesn't look great for White, honestly. I'm not sure about this F6 move, but I don't know what's happening concretely. I thought maybe Rook E6, but then King C2, check, King D1. No, then King C1, let's say, and pawn is running very fast. I think this is the key trick, that on F6, Black always has Rook G6. Not this one allowing King G5, but Rook G6, and then getting behind and winning the pawn. And then the issue is like, okay, you get some endgame like this, right? Let's just say both sides, or White has to give up the rook and then tries to run with the H pawn. White always is losing here because the White king is just going to be way too far away, right? Black can go back, okay, whatever, let's take, and resignable. Nice. So Rook G2, H3 played. Sevian only down to 4 minutes, so he doesn't have a lot of time to to defend here. Yeah, the camera's now on the board. I feel like they're wondering if Sevian's gonna do something else. Oh man. Yeah, hopefully we find out what the heck that was all about. It's kind of insane. Yeah, he's not gonna get flagged here. I mean, he's got the 30-second increment, so if he flags, it's definitely just gonna be his own doing. That said, time pressure is certainly a factor here. Like, it's much harder to find the right move when you don't have a lot of time left. H3. Now king A1 might be tried. Hmm. It would have been more likely Sam flagging or picking up Hans's king, breaking it, and throwing it at the board and be like, what? Like, what do you mean, what am I doing? What are you doing? Like, what do you mean, what am I doing? What are you doing? All right, king A2 play. I would have said it's more likely that Sevian flags than the clip. Yeah, I just don't like. What did Sevian say to the arbiter? Because the arbiter came over. I think Frank Guadalupe came over. He like stopped the clock and he's like, "Boys, what's going on here?" And, I mean, Sevian had to had some kind of claim, or I don't know. Yeah, I'm still very puzzled. Yeah, maybe they're. Oh my God, Hans just adjusted his own king on Sevian's turn. Oh boy, I feel like this. My God, guys, what are you doing? Sevian has 3 minutes. You're like Hans is like adjusting his own king. Yeah, maybe there's some eye contact stuff going on where they keep like shooting each other dirty looks or something. Hans was like winning this game, and then it was like drawish. Now he's back to winning. Maybe there's some like interpersonal stuff going on. It's yeah, remains to be seen. Yeah, why was Seven pointing us? I don't know. I don't know. Okay, Rook H7, B2 played. Rook B7. Rook G6. Oh, that's a killer. Yeah, I think it's just dead lost. Yeah. So now it's losing. This Rook G6 is a really instructive idea because he's not letting the king enter. Right. If he played here, then King G5, White gets a lot of counterplay. But the Rook G6, okay, he's forcing F7. Now he's going to go here, and since Black's pawn is about to promote, his threat is to just take on on F7. Now there is still going to be some more intrigue in this game actually because on Rook F6. Like let's say here takes, Black promotes. If White could get away with taking this pawn, which he can't right now because of Queen G1 check, but if you could take the pawn, then he'd have like some chances to hold with the Rook versus the Queen. But here he's not able to take this pawn, which means Black is about to have a million different checks. He's gonna pick up this one and should be winning. Should be winning the endgame. Okay, Rook F6 played. King G5. And now Rook takes F7. He takes. Queen's on the board. Okay, I guess Sevian's gonna try to save this somehow. Yeah, it's still not over. Like, you can go rook f5, right? And then just be like, how are you gonna beat me? h4. So yeah, rook f5 here, right? Hey, Brayden. Yeah, you could put it up tomorrow, or we could also split this one up, right, into little segments, or if you want, we can just put it up all together. Okay, h4. Oh yeah, if you just want to put up the first part, yeah, that sounds great. Han's giving a check. I think he's gonna try to pick up this pawn with check, but not sure if he'll be able to do it. I'm wondering why not rook f5? Oh, anyway. Just stick the queen on g3. Well, I don't know. I mean, white's gonna go like king h5, rook f5, rook g5. King h5. Oh, but now he can take this one. That looks like that should just win. How's this game still going on? What do you mean, Viva la Kid? He took his king that way. Yeah, good point. Good point. Okay, Han's thinking here. Wait, what is he thinking about right now? What's the issue with queen c5? That's funny. Yeah, king and rook are too close. Yeah, I don't see this one happening. Yeah, Fabi tweet, so good. That was very strange. That was one of the absolute weirdest moments in like a chess tournament that I've seen in a while. The previous weirdest thing that's ever happened was Magnus withdrawing from the Sinquefield Cup. I would say that was the previous one. King b3, huh? What's the idea behind king b3? Yeah, played. Good call. Is he just trying to keep white's king cut off? Is that why? Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, we don't have the rights. No, Sevian's fine. He maybe is a little bit upset, but he doesn't. He hasn't gone crazy or anything. Have you ever seen or heard of a situation where a fan interfered with the game? I definitely heard of some moments. I don't know if I've seen one that was like too insane. What was my worst OTB experience? Okay, let's think. I was playing against this one guy that was pretty bad because it was like I don't know, it was a fighting game, and he kept like trying to make eye contact with me during the game, and then he would like smirk at me, and it was very tilting. Like he would just keep like every time he made a good move, because this position I think was quite decent. He would like make his move and like slam the clock and then like smirk at me. And then one time he made this move that was like clearly winning, and it was like very obvious that I overlooked the move. And then he like banged it out, just like again, like looks at me. I think he like giggled to himself, and then he like left the board. Yeah, that was a real bummer. I ended up losing that game. I mean, I was just, I mean, he played well. I didn't play well, and yeah, that was sad. Yeah, it's always the worst when you lose to someone who's being like a jerk. At least if you beat them, then it's like, all right, well, at least they were a jerk to you, but at least you won the game. But they win the game and they're a jerk. And, yeah. Well, what to do? What to do? My consolation prize, though, is that his life probably is not great. So, feel bad for that guy. Feel bad for him. Okay, yeah, rook g7, hanging the rook. But that's going to be a stalemate. It's a good move for white because he's fighting for the g file because it's so slow to advance the king and the pawn like one square at a time. And so black is bringing the king back and trying to win this way. So I guess Hans's point is like he doesn't really need to win the pawn right now. What he needs to do is get his king back, and then he can convert the position. So it kind of makes sense he didn't go after the pawn, but rather just go after the king. Oh yeah, I don't really want to like name the person because like whatever, doesn't matter. Have you ever done a postmortem with someone who was super gloaty? No, not really. Or if they were, then I didn't pick up on it. Went right over my head. Okay, they're showing the moment on the St. Louis broadcast again. For anyone that missed it. Sevian picking up the king, starting to examining it, and then just like snapping off the head. And then Hans is like, bro, why are you, why did you just do that to my king? Just insane. And then Sevian just like throwing the king back, and weird, weird. Do I think this one should be winning for black? I think it is winning. Rook g7, queen c5. This is all on the board. I mean, it's going to take a couple more moves, but in general, I think black's king is close enough to get to the pawn in time. But still not easy. Gonna have to be some accurate moves here from black to finish. Yeah, same. I don't get it at all. I really don't get it. I mean, it was weird. At first, I thought he's like looking for something, but I don't understand like what he's looking for. Yeah, no obvious explanation there at all. Yeah, it was really weird. I don't know. I think we're just waiting for like the post game interviews. Okay, but game continues. King e4. King looks normal to me. Okay, rook f6 played. Now maybe queen e7 here or queen g8 check. Also possible. Queen g8 kind of poses an awkward question to white, whether to go back to the h file or play rook g6 and queen d8 check. So it looks close now. Okay, but Jonathan, like how does that work? Like what, the king is buzzing? Like what? How does that work? It's strange. It's not a crazy like explanation for what Sevian did because he was like examining the king. He was like looking for something, but like what are you looking for? No, because I had that same thought. He's like looking for something. He like breaks off, but like what? Like what's gonna be in there? All right, King G6 played. Looks like King E5 on the board. Check. King E6. Yeah, it doesn't look like they penalized Sevian at all, but that was strange. Oh, someone on the St. Louis stream in the chat said that they have some bad blood from a previous incident. Um, that's possible. I mean, it wouldn't be the craziest thing. You know, they were both 7 years younger back then, and yeah, maybe there's some because they're similar age. I think Seven's a little bit older, but I'm sure they've competed with each other enough. By the way, guys, yeah, like this is still a chess stream, so we're not super like we are trying to keep it like PG, PG friendly. So yeah, if we could cool it with like the beads talks, it's very funny, guys. I promise. All the beads jokes, very funny. I laugh every time I see one. But yeah, maybe if we could just cool a little bit on all the beads talk, that would be great, just for the stream. Okay, rook f1. So yeah, 7 here, he's trying to keep the king cut, right? So that black can't get the king in and start playing for checkmate. So black is still gonna have to work here, find some checks or some maneuver with the queen to advance. Maybe like queen c4 now. Queen g2. Yeah, it's not easy, Killer Whale. It's not easy to win, but just need some patience. You got to try not to blunder. Hans, though, look at Hans, right? He has plenty of time. He's got 30 minutes. He's not blitzing, even though Sevian has 5 minutes. He's playing reasonably fast, but not like... Again, he's not blitzing. He's trying to make the best possible move every time. Queen d5. Okay, that's a tricky one. He's got some discover checks available. And he's also keeping an eye on the g2 square, so there's not going to be any king moves here. Oh, Sophie winning. Good, good, good. We have to stay with this game, but I'm happy to hear Sophie's winning. Yeah, we don't really need any computer evals, please. But yeah, definitely seems like Black should win if he plays precisely because he has a queen for the rook. Yeah, agreed, Stayman. This third rank defense is difficult to break. It's also hard to pull off though because it requires White, as you can see, to keep his rook and king kind of separated, which always means that there's going to be possibilities for a check. Also, guys, by the way, um, the fact that these a pawns are still on the board is pretty serious. So at any point, if Black just like picks up this pawn and White still hasn't like advanced the h pawn, he's just going to win simple. Like he's just going to start running the a pawn down the board and White's rook isn't going to be able to deal. So queen d1 check. I think he might be going after this pawn now. He's got queen d6 check in the position and then queen takes a6. And if he takes on a6, we might just see resignation there, I think, because then Black's a pawn makes it very easy. Without these a pawns, Black would still have some work to do to break through, win the pawn, win the resulting queen versus rook endgame. But with Black having an a pawn, then it's game good. Oh, he can also win the h pawn. That looks good too. That looks good too. So king g5. Check. And king h5 back. Now he's got this one at least. But yeah, winning the h pawn also would decide the game essentially here for Black. Don't play queen e3. Very good. Yeah, very good. It's a good question. What's harder, bishop and knight or queen versus rook? I think queen versus rook. Okay, against the computer, queen versus rook is much harder against the computer. Against a human, though, I think it's maybe slightly harder. But I would still say it's a little bit harder. Queen versus knight, queen versus rook. Yeah. Now bishop and knight, I think, definitely doable. Bishop versus knight, very hard. Not many people can win king and bishop against king and knight. No pawns. You have to be really skilled. Really skilled. But it is doable. There's good winning chances on that one. Good winning chances. Queen d7 played. So quiet move. But now it's hard for Sam. So yeah, king g5, for example, hangs the rook. If this one, then white can do, or black can do this idea and then take here. So queen d7. Very annoying. He's also threatening to give check and then queen g7 to take the rook. Yeah, it's kind of it's tough. It's tough for white. All right, he goes rook f1. Can we get Ray to come on the dojo? I mean, we'll see. That'd be great. Yeah, maybe we'll ask him. All right, Queen B5. Hitting the rook and the pawn. Yeah, that's true, Max. Chess games. I was just thinking about that. Like, yeah, how Sam was like, Robson, he'll never make it. Sevian, he'll never make it. Hans, he'll never make it. And they all made it. But maybe it wasn't that likely that they would make it. Yeah, for A1, King F6 is a nice mating line. Or at least very, very close, right? I think just like here, and I think white just doesn't save this. Would most players in the tournament resign here? No, I don't think you resign here. I think this is still tricky enough that you kind of play out a couple more moves because it's not that easy to win this for white. For black, I mean. What do I think about Neiman? I'm not sure what you mean exactly. I think a lot of stuff about, a lot of the players, including. Okay. Here, Queen B5, Rook F8. And now, no, it definitely seems like he can take. Yeah, he does. Do I think Hans is next world champion, or is he a big cheater? I don't think those are the only two options. How often do people lose on time with 30-second increment? Very rarely. And if they do lose on time, it's because they had a very bad position already, and then they just didn't find a move that didn't just automatically like lose easily. So they just didn't play a move in time. Okay, let's see what we had here. So yeah, he's won the A pawn. I mean, this game is just about finished because white is never going to advance with his own A pawn and with his own H pawn, and now black can run the pawn. Sam has nope, not resigned yet. Not according to the video. I'm watching just watching the official stream, the webcams. Because people keep thinking Seven is gonna take like a swing at Neiman or something. I'll tell you, when I was watching that Magnus Neiman game from the Sinkfield Cup on the camera, Magnus looked really pissed, and I thought for a sec like, dang, he might take and that was before he like withdrew or did anything, right? That was just during the game when everything was still normal. But Magnus, he looked visibly like angry in the game. But okay, of course he's too much of a sportsman to do that. And I don't know about you guys, but I don't think it's right to resort to physical attacks or violence, like for a chess game. A5. Wait, is this going to be 4 straight wins for Hans? I know he really bounced back, but is this really 4 straight? Can someone confirm that? All right, looks like he just resigned. And they're talking. Looks like they're talking. I think, yeah, Seven. He seems a little annoyed, but they're actually talking about the game. So looks like no huge hate between the players. That's often how these things kind of end. Like the players, something happens during the game, it's a little bit tense, and then afterwards they're just discussing the game back to normal. 3 straight wins. Thank you. Okay, well, I mean, very nice technical win for Hans. I would say the last 20 moves or so, 25 moves were a little bit, 30 moves were a little bit overshadowed by the whole incident that happened here while Hans was thinking. Um, Seven just like grabs the king on b3 and just, yeah, hopefully we'll get an answer there. So let's see, one game left here. A wonder. Looks like he's trying to convert an extra pawn against Darius, and yeah, I'm not sure about a wonder's winning chances here because he's up the pawn, but all his pawns are weak and isolated, and Black's rook looks pretty mobile here. So I'm going to say that this one most likely ends in a draw, but we'll see. And let's just check in with the U.S. Women's Championship. Let's see, actually 2 games left here. So we have this game with Megan and Sophie. Wow, they still got the queens on. Yeah, people were saying this one looked really good for Sophie. I would have to agree. I mean, it looks good. The A-pawn is strong. Blank is super active here, but okay, 7 seconds on her clock. So this is kind of a messy situation, you know? Super messy. So yeah, not sure what's happening here. And then we got Sabina against Alice Lee. This is a rook endgame. Equal pawns, but yeah, it feels like Black maybe has a little bit more to play for here, although I would imagine White is probably okay here. So yeah, let's get back to Sophie. Oh, rook h5. Sevian had some kind of defense. Yeah, I mean, I don't. That doesn't sound too unbelievable. Yeah, position was pretty weird. Any idea about Sevian picking up Hans's king? Yeah, I think you probably just joined the stream, right? Because it's obviously all we've been talking about for the last like hour or so. Yeah, it was weird. It was weird. Wait, hold on, guys. King h2 is Queen h1. Is this a GG? Hello, is this Puzzle Rush? Rook g4. That looks good too. That looks good too. But excuse me, guys. Queen h1 was ending the game, right? Am I missing something here? This is an immortal. Double check. Dang, Sophie. I mean, rook g4 is good. This looks like it might force resignation because White's losing the queen. But I mean, come on. That's Puzzle Rush. Puzzle Rush. Yeah, they're pointing out on the live broadcast now. But I didn't need the engine to spot this one. Just saying. That's just Puzzle Rush. Thank you, thank you. Okay, so Sophie should be winning this one anyway after rook to g4. I think we'll end the stream there, guys. Let's go raid St. Louis. They're probably going to have an interview with Hans shortly, and I'm sure you're all dying to know what the heck happened between him and Sam in that moment. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. Hopefully David will be back tomorrow to cover the last round. If not, maybe I'll do it. But yeah, thanks for sticking around, guys. That's going to do it for the stream. Make sure to follow the channel if you haven't already. Join the YouTube. Join the Discord if you want to talk more about the Sevian incident. I'm sure there's already a big discussion going on in the Chess News channel in the Discord. Join the Discord if you want to talk more chess. And yeah, check out the training program as well, folks, if you're looking to improve.